Are you living with hemophilia and having a difficult time transitioning from your mom ordering all your medication and telling you when it's time to give your infusions to you taking care of all of those things on your own? My name is Jonathan James with Hope Charities, and I want to talk to you today a little bit about prophylaxis treatment and how to stay consistent even when you don't want to. And I've been thinking a lot about what it's like as a young adult, going from high school to college and learning how to really take over those responsibilities of ordering your medication, staying on track, staying on time. You know, when your parents are there to guide you and tell you what to do every step of the way, it's really something you don't have to be involved in a lot. They're making certain that you stay on your treatment regimen, that you stay on time, and that you take your infusions accordingly on the schedule that you're supposed to, and be compliant with your doctor's recommendations. But there comes a time for all of us when it's time to go to college or move out of the house as a young adult. And you have to start making these decisions on your own and thinking about, when do I need to order my medication and when can I stay on track? And then, do I really have to do this? Or maybe I'm not going to take care of that now. I'll do it next week because I'm going with my friends. But all of those things can really cost a high price when you're living with a rare bleeding disorder. It can cause internal bleeds in your joints and cause severe joint damage that's really irreversible. And it can cause a lot of difficulties. And we all learn the hard way, as long as we would like to say that we can learn through experts and watching others make mistakes. All of us have to learn by doing. And I want to talk a little bit more about that today. And I've invited a friend of mine to come and talk to you a little bit with us about this topic, Benjamin Hicks. It is great to see you, Ben. Thanks so much for joining me for this pre-event podcast.
Yes, sir. I'm excited, man. I'm excited. I'm excited to be here.
Well, I have to say that there are a lot of people in this community that have been through a lot of challenges up and down. And you are a fellow blood brother who's been through a lot yourself. And so, for maybe people that are watching this and have never gotten a chance to get to know you or heard your story before, why don't you tell us a little bit about where you're from and how you're impacted by a bleeding disorder?
Yes, sir. My name is Benjamin Hicks. I have hemophilia A severe. I got diagnosed when I was 11 months, and I live in Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
That's awesome. It's my hometown, man. I'm glad to know that we're neighbors. I was just thinking we're like 10 miles apart. I don't know why we did this online, but we could have just done this together. But it's great to be able to do this in any place that you are. So
Yes,
I know that I've watched your story for a long time and watched how you've grown up through some challenges, ups and downs. And, as someone living with a bleeding disorder, you've really gone through that transition that we were talking about earlier, about where you just kind of, your mom does a lot of the initial things for you, right? It's and
yes,
and, and then also kind of helps you transition. But let's start maybe with just kind of on the prophylaxis side. Tell me a little bit about your journey. Were you always on prophylaxis treatment? Were you always on some sort of preventative regimen, or did you start on demand and shift gears over time? How did that work for you?
So for me, when I was diagnosed, I mean, we had a rough time getting diagnosed. I mean, I started having
Mm,
problems before I got diagnosed with hemophilia. So I started getting hematomas as a baby. Uh, when I was 11 months, we finally found someone that would test me. So as soon as they found out that I had hemophilia and I tested positive for it, they put me right on prophylaxis, and I've been on prophylaxis ever since. And I'm 24 now, so for 24 years, I've always been on prophylaxis, never just on demand. So I've always
mm,
had a regimen that I had to follow, or my mom had to follow when I was growing up. Uh, for me, it was hard for my mom to follow that regimen because also my little brother has it too. So she had
okay.
to learn to deal with two boys that's on different regimens and sometimes different days, and sticking us and making sure that we were getting the factor when we needed and having that protection. And also for me, I feel like that helped her to know that we had that protection, know that we were okay during the week until we got our next dose because we had that protection in the meantime. I mean, as a baby,
Mhm.
you learn how to walk, you learn how to do everything that you do now. So you don't have to worry about the bumps. You don't have to worry about the little falls. So I think that helped her a lot when I was a baby for sure.
Yeah, that's great. I know that the unexpected is what's really important. I think for parents is watching their kids like could fall and hit their head or something like that. I can't imagine that as a person living with hemophilia. I'm sure you feel this way too. It's like it's kind of hard to imagine what that would be like to to manage that with a child that you can't always see the bleeds. But staying on that regimen is important. But let's talk a little bit about that timeline when you started to become independent. When did you first learn to self infuse and start learning to take your own infusions?
So for me, I was a little nervous. I know we had a home health nurse come by our house and was trying to teach me, like trying to push me to do it. I was just nervous. I mean, I was scared to stick myself. I was scared to do it. The little push I got to actually do it was at hemophilia camp. I was at hemophilia.
Hmm.
I got a bleed in my leg. I went to the infirmary, and it was one of those things where you either do your factor because they wanted me to do it. So it's like do your factor, or you're gonna have to leave camp to go treat your bleed. So as a kid, I didn't want to leave camp, so I grabbed the needle and stuck myself. And they actually gave me a big stick reward with my bios caps on it and all that. And it was so cool. I mean, it was a cool experience. And I still have the big stick in my house as a remembrance of the first time I stuck myself. So it was pretty awesome. It was a pretty little push. But once I did it, as soon as I got home, I started doing it ever since. I mean, it was definitely a push that I needed to get to
Wow.
where I am now.
And how old were you when that happened?
I was 11 years old. 11 years
11. Wow.
old. Yes, sir.
Well, you say you're a little apprehensive and a little late, but that's still pretty young to be doing an
Yes, sir.
infusion on your own, and that's a huge thing. And now today, spoiler alert, you get to actually you've really made this part of your life's mission, right? I mean, you're
Yes,
you're
sir.
the outreach coordinator at the local chapter, and you're actually helping to facilitate camps now, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I mean, that's always my goal is to get that support for these kids and have that blood brother there to help you. You know, one can stick itself and one can't. I mean, you can watch other kids stick themselves, and it might give you that little push, like I got, to be able to get to that step to where you feel comfortable doing it for yourself. And once you
Right.
do it, it feels really empowering. I mean, you go home really excited, you ready to do that next dose and get that next stick. And then it feels like a
Yeah.
challenge. Like, hey, now I can hit my veins and don't have to go to my mom and ask, can you stick me or can you do this for me? So it's very empowering once you get to that step. And trust me, I was one of those ones that were struggling to get there,
Yeah.
but that little push helps a lot, and that's why I think camp is such a big thing. To have
Definitely.
those community members there and have those blood brothers there to give you that encouragement.
That's so awesome. Tell me a little bit about fast forward down the journey, right? You get through the end of high school, you're starting to think about moving out and college and all of these things. Tell me a little bit about how that transition went for you and having to kind of take on some additional responsibility with ordering your factor. How was that a smooth transition? Was it difficult? Was it easy?
I mean, it was pretty smooth for me. My mom started us young when we were 14. We used to want to play AAU basketball, so she made sure that we knew everything before we could do it, and that was one of our tests. If we knew everything, then we can go on that trip to play basketball. So my mom pushed us to learn. My mom pushed us to make sure if she wasn't with us, we knew how to talk to the doctor and get what we needed if something happened. Uh,
So good.
and make sure that we were comfortable sticking ourselves in situations that we don't. I stuck myself in a hotel room before my AAU meeting, so uh, it was one of those things. She made sure that we knew what we needed to do and knew we was comfortable doing it. So when I got to college, when I got to that 18 point, you're moving on with your life. You want to get out your mom's house and go on and live in a dorm. It was very smoothly. My doctor made sure that I was comfortable. She made sure that I knew how to order my factor, knew who to call to order my factor. I was really close with my pharmacy. I had their cell phone number, and I was texting them like, "Hey, I need factor. Oh, I'm running low on factor. I have 2 doses left." So
Mhm.
it was really smooth. I mean, you have some days that you get busy and you forget, and I mean, I had those battles, so it's definitely not smooth as an aspect. I mean, you got classes, you got stuff you got to get done, and sometimes it gets on the back burner, but then you got to get refocused and make sure you do it the way you need to do it, or you'll have problems in the future.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. Did you ever have a time where you felt like, I could push this off a little later. Maybe I don't really need to take this right now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I mean, you have those bleeds that you feel like, oh, it'll just get better on itself. Like I don't need it right now. Maybe if I wait a day, maybe it'll get better tomorrow. Then it ends up getting worse. And you're like, well, now I got to do even more factors. So, I mean, you have those thoughts as a young guy. I mean,
Mhm.
especially not learning that. I mean, so you want to go out, you want to have fun, you don't want to sit there and do factor. Your friends will text you like, "Hey, come on, we got to go," or "We're going to this, we're going to this." So it's one of those things that you got to sit and actually do so you can enjoy those little things with your friends. It's definitely a lesson to learn. I think we all learned it. I mean,
Yeah.
as a young person, I mean, we don't see the importance of it until we get older.
Yeah, you and I have talked about this before, but Dr. Kessler, who was Craig Kessler, who's a well-known hematologist, I heard him say one time at a meeting, he said, that the problems that they observe in research with people with a bleeding disorder are not all that different from the general population, the problems that you see in the general population. And he said, but all of the problems you see in the general population, when it comes to a bleeding disorder, it's like looking through a magnifying glass. It's just so much more amplified. And that's, to me, has always been a good reminder and example of how it is. It's like, oh, this little ankle thing is just kind of feels sprained, or maybe I need to kind of walk it off, rub some dirt in it. And so, you start down that path, and before you know it, you can't walk, and you're,
Mhm.
in tears overnight. And there's this, and you're scrambling now, you're in a pain crisis, and you're trying to infuse, and it can get out of hand in a very short amount of time. And kind of like I said earlier, it's like, man, sometimes we'd all like to think that we could learn from the wisdom and the mistakes of others in the previous generation. But no matter who you are, we all have a tendency to learn from our own mistakes as we go, and learn it as we do it. And I do think that it's not abnormal. I think the key thing is, so is your mom. I've met her and spent some time with her recently. She is a powerhouse, and good for her for encouraging you and preparing you for that.
Yes,
And
sir.
but like you said, I've heard you say it before. No one's perfect, right? People make
No, no one.
mistakes.
I mean, everyone in this world, even without the hemophilia world, no one is perfect in their life. You're
That's
going to make
right.
mistakes. There's always lessons in life. You have to learn those lessons and don't go relearn those lessons. You have to
That's right.
learn them and move on and don't go back. So, and that's
That's
always been
right.
my thing and my outlook on it. Uh, I mean, I learned those lessons when I was young, not wanting to do factor, when I had bleeds and just waiting it out and doing it later when I felt like it. And that was a lesson I needed to learn because when I got older, now I have joint issues, and I have hemorrhoidopathy, arthritis. That could have been avoided if I just sat down and sat with myself like, no, I need to do it right now as soon as I have it to get it over with. So,
Hmm.
and I don't want to relearn that lesson. So I'll make sure that I do my factor as soon as I need it, or and do my
Yeah.
prophylaxis on time.
That's so good. I think a lot of times that self-talk is, I think some people like make fun of it and say, well, don't talk, do you talk to yourself? I'm like, yeah, I talk to myself all the time. Like, you better get on track, boy, because
Is
this is
there?
gonna be a problem later. But
I think that's
you
the
know,
big thing is to have self motivation, man. I mean, you got to
so
have
true.
that self motivation. I mean, anybody can tell you anything, but you have to do it for yourself.
That's right. That's so good. Yeah, have you ever, I guess one other question I was thinking about was, have you ever had a time where you had to maybe work with your doctor to even modify your schedule
Yes, sir.
at some point?
Yes, sir. So I had when I got started on Prophy my whole life, I've been on several different factors in my
Mhm.
life. So when I was younger, I'll have problems on one factor. I'll get breakthrough bleeds, and we'll have to go to the doctor like, hey, this is not working. Like we need something else. We need a different treatment. What else is out there that we might could try that might work better? So I grew
Mhm.
up having that conversation with my mom and my doctor. So even now as an adult, when I go there by myself, I'm comfortable enough to have that conversation when things are not going good. I mean, not even 6 months ago, I had to have that conversation. I was having breakthrough bleeds.
Mhm.
I was having trouble with inflammation in my joints all the time. So I went to my doctor like, hey, something is going on. I don't want to keep on this regimen if it's not working for me. So you have to find a regimen that works for you, works for your time. You're busy, work through your time. If you can cover, if you're gonna have this free day, you have this free day. Do your factor on those free days if you can.
Mhm.
So it's definitely a great conversation to have. And like I said, growing up, I had those conversations because I did have problems growing up and was on so many different factors. So
Mhm.
it gave me that encouragement when I got older to have that one-on-one conversation with the doctor without my mom.
That's so good. It's so important. I think sometimes people just suffer silently because they're afraid. I mean,
Exactly.
all of us deal with some form of white
Oh
coat
yeah.
syndrome or imposter syndrome, right? So you go in there and your blood pressure is a little elevated and you're nervous to talk to the doctor about it. But I
Mhm.
think it's important to just kind of take a deep breath and be honest with
Yeah.
yourself
Yes, sir.
so that you can be honest with your doctor and even prepare for those conversations when you're getting ready to go to the doctor appointment, to be able to kind of make some notes to yourself, maybe put it in your phone. You have any tricks that you use or tips maybe that you could offer anybody for how to stay on track? I mean, do you use like alerts on your phone or maybe an app that helps you to keep track of when
So
you're giving
so for
yourself
me
treatments?
right now, I use MicroHealth, and
Oh yeah.
it's been a great thing. I mean, it's a great app. So I mean, you can put in the dates that you need to do factor, and it will send you reminders on your phone, like you're getting a text or something like that. So I think that's a great way to keep on track and make sure you're on your time, because you can set it for 6 o'clock at night, so you get a reminder at 6 o'clock. Hey, you need your factor, or your factor is ready to do today. So I think that's one of the great things. And like I said before, self motivation. I mean, you always have to have that.
Right.
Have that right mindset to where you know that if you don't do it now, it's going to affect you tomorrow or the day after. So I think that's the biggest thing is self motivation, is to make sure you have that outlook on it, and make sure you know that if you don't do it now, you're probably gonna have problems in the next 2 days.
Hmm.
So that's a big thing. Also, like, yeah, definitely writing down notes. I mean, you got to put in your notes app, put in your calendar on what days you need to do your factor, do it for the whole month, because
Hmm.
it doesn't change the whole month. So you do it, if you do it every Tuesday, put on every Tuesday on your calendar, set reminders. I mean, stuff like that. There's so many different tricks to make sure you get those reminders, but you can get those reminders all day, but you got to actually sit down and actually do the factor. So,
That's so true. No matter how many tools are out there, at the end of
so
the day,
yeah,
you still gotta pull the trigger and do it
yes, sir.
yourself, you know?
And like you said, I think that's important for going to your doctor and getting those days or getting that regimen where it works on your schedule, not just your. I mean, they can set a schedule for you, but it might not matches your work schedule, what you got going on in life. I mean, everyone goes through things in life. They got different jobs, they got different schedules in life. So I think the biggest thing for that is to go to your doctor like, hey, I'm free on every Monday. Can I do my factor on every Monday instead of Thursday? I mean, that's an
Mhm.
important thing to ask and be transparent with your doctor and being like, hey, this works better for me if we can do that instead.
That's so good. That's really, really important. And I think community helps a lot too. I mean, you're a living, walking testament to that as far as just being able to really stay connected to, other
Yes, sir.
people that are in the community to be able to get that encouragement from time to time, whether that's maybe going to an event at the chapter events, or maybe that's going to a conference, or maybe that's getting involved with camp or doing something like that.
Yes,
You
sir.
can't underestimate the value of connection, right?
You can't. I mean, for me, I mean, I had hemo brothers. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for some of my hemo brothers. I mean, the advice they
Yeah.
gave me through my life, the advice they gave me, not even just about hemophilia, just life in general. I mean, I give y'all my flowers every time because y'all generation paved the way for us as a
Mhm.
24-year-old. So I give my flowers to y'all on everything because we wouldn't have the treatment we had if it wasn't for y'all. So
Mhm.
that's coming from me. But yeah, I mean the older hemophiliacs in your chapters and your organizations, I mean they've been through more. I mean the stuff that you're probably gonna go through. So ask them questions. Say, hey man, I'm having this problem or this personal problem. Have you ever been through it? Do you have any advice for me to get through it a different way or get through it a better way or even not go through it at all? So I think that's really helpful. Like it helped me out. Me and my little brother, we went to older influx at every event. Like, hey, we went through this in school, or we went through this at home. Have you ever been through it, or how did you manage it? How did you handle it? So I think that's so important. I think that's why the chapters, the events matter so much, or even for
Yeah.
caregivers, hearing other caregivers' stories, or how they managed to give their babies treatment. I think that's so important also because, like I said, my mom struggled with it with 2 kids.
Mhm.
So having
Mhm.
that outreach, having that support, having that person you can go to that understands on what you're going through personally and that's going through it themselves, I think that's the most amazing thing you could have going through life.
So true. So true. You can't underestimate the value of brotherhood and also just learning from the people who've gone there before, whether that's caregiver or the individual patients or what have you. But I have to say also, like, I appreciate your appreciation for those of us who maybe a little older and gone through it before. But I have to say, even as a person, that is maybe a little older, I've also been encouraged and inspired by watching, folks like you that have grown up on Prophy your whole life and still have had struggles. It's like it doesn't totally remove the struggle from it just because you've had Prophy, but taking ownership of that and carrying that torch on and forward is something that I think is going to be important for generations to come. And I just want to say thank you for the work that you're doing in really building up a stronger community, because I've watched you, Ben, do a lot of amazing investment into our community here in Louisiana, but also in your work in advocacy and a lot of other areas. And it's really just it helps give me a lot of hope and inspiration for the future, because I know that when it's all said and done, we've all got to do our part to continue to build each other up and support each other no matter what. And I just am so appreciative of the work that you're doing for your generation, but also for the next generation behind you and behind them. I mean, you're laying the groundwork, really, I think, for many generations to come. And so thank you for all your hard work and devotion, not only to your own life, but also to the lives of the people that you love and serve.
And I thank you for all the good work you do. And I think that's the biggest goal for me taking this job is making sure no other kid went through what I went through or try to get to where they don't
Mm,
have to go through what I went through. I think
mm,
medication and prophy and all that stuff can get better through the years. I hope and I pray it does. So maybe the next generation doesn't have all those bleeds or have to switch all those factors. So
mm,
I
mm.
think it always can get better. And I have two beautiful nieces that could be carriers. So my goal is to make sure they still have a community when they grow up and have that
Yeah.
support. If they want to have a family, they have that support of a community there for.
Yeah. That's so true. So good, man. Well, thank you so much for joining me for this pre-event podcast today. There's so much more of this to come. We're getting ready for our big event here, May 20th and 21st. It's an online event, so people can participate anywhere you live, and it's a great opportunity to get connected. So, I'm looking forward to seeing you there, and I know a lot of other folks are going to be there too to build each other up and encourage each other. So, thanks for being a part of this today, and
Yes,
I look
sir. I
forward to seeing
appreciate
you
it.
real soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you. You have a good one.
All right, you too. Well, again, big thanks to Ben for just all the work he continues to do to help support our community every single day. And I want to invite you to come and hang out with me and Ben and so many of other of our community members from across the country who are talking about this exact thing: how to stay on track. Sometimes when life interrupts the most important things in our lives, that's when we have to have the grit and determination to push through and stay committed to the things that we know that are right. And so May 20th and 21st, you can register for this event. It's a free event for you to come to. You can click on that little QR code up there in the top, or you can just click in the link that's provided in the comments down below. But let me know what you're thinking about right now. Let me know what you're struggling with in terms of how to stay on track. What is interrupting your ability to stay on pace with your treatment? I'd love to hear from you in the comments below, and we'll do everything we can to respond to those timely. But thanks again to Ben for joining me today. We look forward to seeing you on the Prophy Conference, and I certainly hope that you continue to find ways to get encouragement and support through a community in this bleeding disorder space. And it's been